I guess the biggest way that it has changed my perspective of my own culture would be the rat race, right? It is a lot more of an attempt to control your own fate in the Western society. And I guess over here, it's more of just, allowing your own fate to happen and fold out in front of you. My name's Ryan. I lived in Canada, born and raised in Canada. Prior to coming to Thailand, I was working in the food industry, either through project planning or as a consultant doing Lean Six Sigma process efficiencies. So what first brought me to Thailand, I guess, was a sense of adventure. I was looking to try something a little bit different. This was back in 2020, or I guess 2019, leading up. I decided to come over and try teaching, just a little bit of ESL. Originally, I had planned just one semester.
And what about now? Did you change your plans?
Well, I'm here in 2025, so it definitely changed my plans. I originally, had planned just one semester. Then, obviously, with the pandemic, I got stuck here. So it changed into a lot more of a extended trip than what I had originally anticipated. But it ended up opening my eyes, I guess, to the beauty of Thailand and drove me to eventually come back here.
When you arrived here, maybe there was a moment of adaptation for you. Do you remember your first few weeks here? Did something struck you especially?
I guess the biggest thing that struck me was just the cycles, right, of the time. In Canada, we can have really long summer days where the sun comes up at like 5 a.m. and it goes down at like 9:30. So the really regular cycle of 6 and 6, right? Basically, sun's up at like 5:30, 6 o'clock here and down at like 6, 6:30. That was a really big shock to me, I guess. Other than that, I mean, it didn't take, well, we were very kept, right? In the sense that we were originally held together as like a big group of new students coming in to teach, especially during the first like month. So we always had people here to help us. So there wasn't really much shock at the very start until they sort of, after that, left us on our own.
And then what happened? When you were left on your own, what's the first things that struck you maybe?
I guess the first thing that struck me was just like the way their food culture is, especially coming from a food industry, right? In Canada, there's not typically these street vendors and stuff like that. And so there was a lot of, I guess, just sort of like, wow, there's food everywhere. People are all like, it was very food focused for me, coming from my background. So I think that was the bigger shock. I mean, I don't have any issues eating any of the food here. So, I find it's still a fairly high standard of food safety. But yeah, it was just sort of a shock at the very start for sure.
And anything struck you in bad?
I guess the big thing that struck me as bad, at least the way I was raised, it's polite to be on time for things. So, I mean, everybody's familiar with Thai time, right? If you've been here. So they do have their own schedule that they run on. And I guess it took a bit of getting used to realize it's like they'll show up eventually. It's just not exactly when you told them to show up. So that was a bit of a change for myself, getting used to. Yeah.
Did you have any kind of culture shock, some moments when you just thought that you did not understand how to behave or that you were losing control over the social situation?
I mean, not really that I can think of. I previously to coming to Thailand, I had been very interested in Buddhism, so I had looked into a lot of their Buddhist culture and stuff like that. So none of those types of things shocked me. I guess, though, to speak on that, the way that the Thai people and the Buddhist monks in Thailand sort of interact was very eye-opening for me. Being able, like any Thai citizen, could go to the temple and be able to receive food in the morning if they needed to. So I found that very interesting.
You think that the spirituality, the religion here is more alive inside the society than on the Occidental side?
It's kind of hard. I think that they likely are more in tune to maybe true aspects of religion and spirituality, whereas typically in the West it's become very organized in the sense that it's just like, here you're going to Sunday school basically, or church on Sunday, and a lot of times it's just that, right? Not many people extend it past that one day. Whereas here it does seem to be very embodied, right? They have a very large karmic belief, right? So it does carry forward past just one day a week or one day a month.
You think that the religion is more separated from the everyday life on the Occidental side, and here it's more inside every little things of life?
Yeah, it's definitely more ingrained within the society here, I find. The monks are a lot more involved in the community than what I find the churches are, at least in Canada. But that also may come from me being less of a, I guess, organized religion fan and more of a believer in one's own self and enlightenment.
What do you think? What do you know about Buddhism? How would you describe it?
If I were to describe Buddhism, I would describe it, I guess, as your own self journey through your mind, your own realization of whether you believe in past lives or not. But it's about understanding your own abilities and your own incompetencies, I guess, right? And it's allowing you to take that time to dive into your own psyche and try to work through some of traumas that you may have experienced.
You think it's more oriented towards your own psychology than towards your relation to a god?
Yes, yeah. I mean, that's the big thing, right? Is it's not really God based, right? It's 100% you're your own God. You're the controller of your own reality. So you need to take control of it somehow. And that's through Buddhism and the practice of meditation and spirituality.
Do you practice meditation yourself?
I do. I'm not as practiced as I have been. I mean, when I was back in Canada, I definitely fell out of practice, but I've done some Vipassana courses, and I do really believe in the power of meditation to help, better oneself and also cure many of the mental ailments that we are experiencing in today's age.
Do you see an impact of these practices on the Thai religion, on the Thai society, excuse me?
I guess I can't really speak with any certain authority to it, but I think that there is some impact beyond, what we see in the West. They are a lot more of I find compassionate, right? Their bigger concern is, have you eaten yet, rather than get off my lawn, right? So there's a lot more of a friendly demeanor to the people, and I think that does come from the Buddhist aspect of their culture.
What was the hardest thing for you to grasp or accept in Thai culture until now?
The hardest thing to grasp, I guess, for myself, it still does come down to just the pacing of life, right? In the West, it is a lot more of a rat race, and time is money. Whereas here, it's a lot more relaxed, and I think that's also another reason why I'm so drawn to it. I'm sort of looking to get out of that rat race and enjoy much more of the simple pleasures within life, opposed to just chasing the dollar bill.
On the contrary, what here in the culture helped you to adapt?
Here in the culture, I guess my previous experience with meditation and Buddhism, as well as yoga, had sort of helped me be prepared for some of the aspects of it. I don't think anything could have prepared me for the spice level of their food, but I mean, that's a completely different story.
You mean that meditation brings you a certain level of detachment to accept differences?
Definitely, yes. Yeah, there's a large aspect to meditation and bringing realization to, the detachment of oneself, to realize that, yeah, we're all within the same being, I guess. Don't want to get too into the spirituality aspect, but
In your opinion, what are the best aspects of local life?
so the best aspects of local life, I really, I guess, on the cultural side, the food and everything, once you get used to or if you can get it not as spicy, I like that aspect of the culture. Also the relaxed demeanor of everybody, right? The Mai Ben Rai aspect, right? There's no real rush to many things within Thailand, at least not within the Isan area. So that's a big attractor.
What about the services? Do you think the level of service is enough in Isan? I mean, healthcare. You are under the social security as a teacher. Maybe you can tell us if you ever used it.
I've never used either like any of that type of social programs, so I don't really have much experience to speak on it. But I do know that they do have a fairly decent healthcare system. Coming as a Canadian, we've got a fairly refined healthcare system, albeit maybe not as good as it has been in the past. But I don't really fear too much about the level of healthcare competencies that you can find within the larger cities. Now, maybe out in the rural area like we are now, you might not find the best healthcare, but there is international standard hospitals all across Thailand. So don't fear the issues if I ever do run into health concerns.
What about your salary as a teacher? Does it give you a good quality of life? Is that enough compared to the cost of living?
Oh, it's way better than anything I was getting paid in Canada, right? Compared to the cost of living in Canada and compare the cost of living here, right? I did take probably about a 50% pay cut coming here, but it's about a 70, 80% reduction in cost of living. So, and I do find that the quality of life here is a lot better.
What do you think of the public services in general? Transportation,
Yeah,
police, whatever.
haven't had too many run-ins with the police, but I know the public services in regards to transport are leagues above what you can find in Ontario. Canada, I guess it comes down to the size of the geographic body, right, for the country. But here, it does seem like there's always a bus that you can get on to get to where you're going. There's always a tuk-tuk or a taxi or something like that to be able to get you from point A to point B. And it's fairly inexpensive when it comes to, chartering these types of services. So,
What do you think of the nature in Isan? Do you like it? Do you enjoy it compared to your Canadian background?
I mean, Canada's got a lot of beautiful natural scapes as well, but within where I am, we don't really have the mountains. Being able to live in and around these mountainous areas is quite lovely. So I do like it. The plant life and everything around here is also quite nice. There's always seeming to be fruit and things like that growing. So fresh fruit is one of the big things I love to eat here, and so it's nice to be able to have so much green space that also provides food.
Okay. Now we are going to see more the multicultural aspect of your experience here. Looking back, what do you think that you have understood about Thai society?
Looking back, I mean, it's hard to understand any society truly, but I guess when it comes to like maybe things that I've learned about the Thai society that I was previously ignorant to prior to coming here. It would be, I guess, the terminology for Mai Bin Rai, where it doesn't really matter, right? Things just go at their own pace and it will happen as it happens. And they really do embody that here. It's a very interesting aspect of culture, right? They don't try to influence things. They just know that things will come the way that they do.
Is there something that you have understood after some time and that you think is some kind of secret? I mean, something very deep that you would not imagine before spending time here? Did you discover any things like that about the society?
Any major secrets about the society? I mean, aside from, yeah, the laid back nature of how they approach life, I think that's one of the biggest secrets that I had found. The other one is that, eating is more about the pleasure and the people that you share the food with rather than just getting nourishment. Food is a very big part of their culture, and they do love to share food with people, and that's always a big thing, right? With them, it's like as soon as you show up, it's like, "Have you eaten? Do you want food?" Right? So I think that would be one of the biggest secrets, is to just enjoy the food and the company that you're with.
What is your opinion about the hierarchy system in the Thai culture? Is that something that struck you specifically compared to the Occidental one?
I mean, they do have interesting structure even within the schools, very similar to a militaristic type hierarchy. But I mean, I guess as an outsider to their culture, I don't feel the influence too much of it. But it did strike me a bit odd when you go to school on Monday and they're all, dressed up in their sort of military-esque uniforms for school. That did, I guess, strike me as a bit odd at the start, and yeah, hierarchical, I guess.
Do you know Grangjai? Grangjai. It's one of the Thai ways specific to their culture. It's the way that people must make the situation, contribute to a situation to be fun, to be relaxed, to be peaceful all the time. It's expected from everybody. Did you encounter that specific aspect, for example?
I can't say I have experienced or at least encountered it yet, but perhaps moving forward I will. I'll have to.
I'm asking you because maybe you are newer than fresher than the other person we interviewed.
Mhm.
So I'm just trying to see if you saw these things or if it takes more
Yeah.
time. Do you feel integrated or still somewhat on the outside?
Well, I mean, definitely still somewhat on the outside, and I don't think I'll ever feel fully integrated. But again, that's not an aspect that I was really seeking when I came here. Is to, it's more about the living the lifestyles that they have here, learning about a different culture. It's not necessarily about trying to come here and feel like I'm at home, right? Because if I wanted to feel like I'm at home, I would just have stayed back in Canada. But it's definitely something I don't think I'll ever experience, is to be, adopted as though I am a local. I know they'll always look at me as somewhat of an outsider, regardless of how much fluency in Thai and other aspects of the culture I adopt.
If we agree on the difference between integrated and assimilated, you understand the difference? Integrated is like you belong to the society, even if you are not a national, and assimilated means you live like a Thai. With that difference in mind, do you feel integrated?
Not integrated, but I am trying to be assimilated. I would say that I am trying to live more like a Thai person in everyday life, and trying to adopt aspects of their culture that I would like to embody. But yeah, I don't think I'll ever be fully integrated and accepted as, to the level that a Thai person would be accepted in their own culture.
Okay. Do you speak Thai?
I can speak a little bit of Thai. I mean, basic words, and I can also read I mean, not really write it very well, but read it to a point that I don't struggle with menus.
Was that a lot of effort to get that?
Yeah, it does. It wasn't easy, that's for sure. I mean, I would recommend trying to learn how to read it if you're going to also learn to speak it. That aspect of it really helps with your pronunciation. Mind you, though, English is a very non-tonal language, so I do struggle with the tones, but I can at least try to make the sounds.
Do you think that speaking Thai makes a difference in everyday life? Yeah.
Absolutely. Even if it's just minor words or being able just to say what item that you want in Thai off the menu, right? It one helps you at least get what you're trying to order, and it also does brighten that Thai person's day to see a Farang speak Thai. So it's I think it's well worth even just picking up a few words if you can.
Okay. Now we are going to reflect on your own culture. Because now that you have been living somewhere else, maybe you look at your own country differently. So, has living here changed the way you see your own country?
Definitely has. I guess the biggest way that it has changed my perspective of my own culture would be the rat race, right? It is a lot more of an attempt to control your own fate in the Western society. And I guess over here, it's more of just, allowing your own fate to happen and fold out in front of you. So it's a good perspective change.
So, you have learned to let go more.
Yes, whether I can fully let go or not is yet to be seen, but I do try to, allow things that are out of my control just to let them be, right? Let it be, basically.
And you think that individuals in the Occidental world are too much trying to keep control of their life and it's detrimental to their quality of life?
I would say yes. A lot of people in the Western society do attempt to kind of manifest their own destiny, right? They are trying to bring forward what they want out of life. And there is ways within, your job and things like that that you can control and better yourself and your situation in life. But also I feel that they're maybe paying too much attention to it and missing a lot of the pleasures that are in life that are very easy to miss.
On the other side, as a foreigner here, especially a consultant, somebody who is very much into analyzing, do you think there is a lack of organizational?
Organizational thinking here. Um, I think that they do have some sort of organizational thinking that I just can't quite perceive. But, from the base level, it does seem slightly unorganized at some points. They definitely have a different way of going about planning things and, even just small everyday things. It seems like they'll, do things almost twice, right? It's like just to get something done once. So it's a very interesting aspect where it just seems like there's a little bit of lack of like pre planning when it comes to implementing a plan.
Does it bother you in your everyday job here?
No, I've just sort of learned to embody it. It is what it is, and at the end of the day, as long as what needs to be done gets done, you can't really complain too much, right? As long as they're not making me do too much extra, I'm usually fine with it.
So you took distance with the over-controlling Occidental way, but on the opposite side, are there things that you understand better about your own native culture now from a distance?
It's an interesting one, especially because for probably like the last 10 years, I've said that Canadian culture has sort of died. I mean, yeah, we have aspects of culture, if you think about it, it's like, oh, poutine and maple syrup and hockey, right? But the culture ingrained in Canadians is typically very hardworking and focused on agriculture and stuff like that, at least where I'm from. So it really hasn't changed too much of my perspective of our culture, other than, I think that there could be some more time put towards pleasure and enjoying finer aspects of life opposed to just always having to work, work, work. So.
Let's come back to your job. What does it mean for you to be a teacher in Thailand?
So for myself, to be a teacher in Thailand is to bring the aspects of Western society and allow the Thai people to experience some of those aspects, as well as also bringing forward, I guess the English culture, right? If we were to say, right, I did say, before there's no real Canadian culture, but we still do embody a lot of what the British Empire brought forward to Canada. So there is that aspect of the English culture from the British Empire that is part of our culture that I feel is another aspect of what we bring forward as an English teacher in Thailand.
What are the challenges you face in your work here as a foreign teacher?
I think the biggest challenge is trying to get the children to pay attention. A lot of times the students, I mean, it's hit and miss. It's either they're really shy and they're not very loud, or they just don't really care at all about being in English class, especially because it's sort of like a prerequisite. They have to take this class, regardless of whether they care about English or not. So the challenge comes down to trying to keep these children engaged, even though a lot of times their English level is non-existent, and they might say like hello and I am fine, and that's about the extent of it. But you still need to try to get them to at least be quiet, be excited to see you in the morning or in the afternoon. So that's usually one of the larger challenges I find.
What about the methods of teaching in Thailand? What do you think compared to what you had as a student in Canada?
Yeah, I guess that's one of the harder aspects, and I've thought about it a bit in the sense like we're here to try and bring forward English education to them, but they're also getting some English education from Thai teachers as well as the rest of the gambit of their actual education, right? All in Thai. So it's kind of, and I guess I would almost attribute it to like in Canada, we have to learn French from grade 4 to grade 9. And 90% of the people have zero interest in learning French in Ontario, at least. So it's sort of that similar aspect of like, we're here to try and teach you. We're bringing forward, as much as we can bring forward, but this it also is a bit on the students' end too. If they're not interested in the education, it's the best you can do is at least make sure that they're not a disruption to the class.
Did you have any expectations coming here that were fulfilled or that you were disappointed?
I guess coming here, I was expecting them to be a little bit more excited about English. And it was definitely a bit of a shock when it was the opposite, right? That being said, though, don't think that every student in your class is not going to be interested. It was usually 3 or 4 out of my 30 size class that would be really engaged, super excited about English, and they would be the ones that sort of brought the energy to the class. So to me, it was like teach for those students, right? And just hope that the other ones there are at least picking up something.
Do you have any specific pedagogy? Do you follow the school pedagogy, or did you develop your own pedagogy to teach?
So the school gives you books that you have to follow, but you have to design the lesson plan, how you're going to teach it, and the way that you keep the students engaged. So the school typically is giving you at least an outline, and then it's up to you to basically bring in the rest of the content.
Did you have any training from local teachers or foreign teachers before you started?
So when I came over here originally, I came through an agency, and they did, I think it was a 2-day training, so sort of like a crash course on Thai culture, a little bit on the language, what's expected from you as a teacher, and then after that, it was thrown to the wolves and best of luck, basically. So, I wouldn't really call it much of a training, but there was some aspects. If you come over here as just a lone teacher, you're 100% on your own. Don't expect any sort of training, which is where they usually are looking for a TEFL, right? So the Teaching English Foreign Language course. And that type of course will give you a good introduction into how to create lesson plans and things like that. So that is your best course of action if you're going to come over here and teach, is to at least go through one of those courses.
In your opinion, what are the main differences between the Thai education system and the education system in your own home country?
So I guess the main differences I would say is maybe, well, and this I guess goes back to not understanding what they're being taught in Thai, right? And only having the aspect of the English lessons that we've been teaching them. But in regards to it, I would say, I think that the educations are similar. They're very Thai focused, Thai history focused. They've got the concepts around the king and all that other stuff that they teach them, right? Whereas in Canada, I think, focus a little bit more broadly. Like, we do have some world history. We do teach a lot more about the aspects that, of colonization and everything like that. So it's a little bit more in depth when it comes to history. I think the math and everything are on par. I would hope that they're also learning on par, sciences and, physics and everything like that. But, as to what they actually get taught in Thai, I have no idea.
Would you say that you bring something special to your students as a foreign teacher?
Well, aside from my beard, I guess, I'm maybe a little bit more culture about Canada, like hockey, some of those aspects. Even winter, right? A lot of these students have never even seen snow, or the best that they've seen is the ice in their glass when it comes to something frozen. So being able to share some of those experiences about like what winter's like, and snowboarding, skiing, playing hockey out on frozen surfaces of water, the Great Lakes, right? Those are big aspects. Being able to talk about an ocean-sized freshwater body is something that I think is a difference that a lot of people might not be able to bring to the table. So, yeah, the slight Canadian culture that we still have.
Do you feel that they are interested in another culture, in your culture? They really want to know.
Some are interested in it. Yeah, they'll, they're, especially when it comes to the winter stuff, right? A lot of them are like, "Oh, I'd love to see snow," and I'm like, "No, you're cold when it's 22 degrees Celsius out. You do not want to see snow." But they always are very interested in the aspects of winter. So that's the one thing that I think that at least I bring to the table and can tell them about.
Do you feel like they want to come and see abroad?
Some do. I know I've had a few students, and their parents actually reach out to me and be like, "Hey, if he ever comes to Canada, can we, have you help him out and get him oriented?" Now that I'm back in Thailand, that's obviously not going to happen. But yeah, I would say maybe like 1 in 10 student at least expresses some interest in going abroad. Whether it's feasible or not for them, that's a completely different question, right?
What do these students give you in return?
So I guess the students the best thing that I could say that the students give me in return is a direct exposure to their culture, right? Being able to teach the children of people that are involved in the culture, that grow up in this culture. It allows you a lot more of a in-depth view, right? Whereas if you just came here just to live and you're not really interacting with the offspring of the people that you're interacting with, you miss out on some of the aspects of the culture. So I think that's the biggest thing that I get from the students is more of a in-depth and a little bit of a peering into the everyday life of like, how are these children being raised when they're not at school? So
Okay. Let's continue with a more personal note about your own journey. Why are you still here today? What keeps you in Thailand until now?
So I did go back to Canada for about 4 years after my previous teaching stint, and then I've come back to teach again. So what's keeping me here, I guess, is the culture that I've sort of fallen in love with. I also do really like the language. I find it very interesting, the way the script is written. So there's many aspects of it that I think are at least feeding my brain the ability to learn, right? I've always been like a lifelong learner, always looking to, better myself and understand more aspects of life. So I feel like that, is a big aspect also within the Buddhism portion of their culture, right? Is the self-realization. So that's sort of what draws me back in.
Have you formed some close personal ties with the locals?
I have, yeah. I still have a few people that I'm in contact with from my previous teaching stint, and then also I've got my fiance here, so there's some close ties that have been developed, and hopefully moving forward as I get more and more competent in speaking Thai, I can develop a little bit more in-depth relationships with people that lack the ability to speak in English.
Have you ever wanted to leave? Maybe to start over a new experience somewhere else?
I've thought about it, but I think there's a lot of other nice countries around here. Like you can go teach in Vietnam. You can teach in Cambodia without a degree. So that's a easy route if you're looking to go and teach, get some teaching experience. China as well. You could go teach there, Japan. So there is a lot of other options around here. But I found that I like the culture. I like the language of Thai. So I didn't really, I guess, pay too much mind to entertaining the actual concept of going to another country to try and learn their whole language, their whole system, where I'm sort of familiar with it here. And again, I like the Buddhism aspect here that I find is a lot more developed and oh, that's a whole, I guess, another question when you really get into it, the Buddhism aspect, because it is sort of like an organized religion here, but they also do still have a lot of really good monks that, you can learn from and still have that social support system for the monks. So I do like that aspect of it, which is why I came back to Thailand.
Okay. Do you practice Buddhism?
I am, yeah, I would say I'm a practicing Buddhist Christian. I do believe in the teachings of Jesus, but I also do believe in the teachings of Buddha. So I don't think they conflict.
You don't think they conflict?
No.
In which way can they complement each other, in your opinion, these two religions?
Well, in my mind, Jesus is the most recent Buddha, right? He's just another fully realized human, the same as what the Buddha is. And he just brought the very similar teachings that the Buddha brought to Asia, just over to the West. But again, with the organization of the Christian Church and Catholicism, a lot of the original teachings have been muddled and sort of brought to a more materialistic aspect. Whereas I think a lot of the teachings, if you actually look into what he was trying to preach, do align very similar to the Buddhist teachings of, you go to God through oneself, right? Which is whether you believe in a God or not, right? It's still the same. It was like, if you're going to go anywhere, you need to better yourself, basically.
You believe that the ultimate goal of Buddhism is to reach God, in your own opinion?
Well, I think God is maybe just a analogy for nirvana, which is what the Buddha was preaching, right? It's the ability to be at peace while living on earth, right? I don't think, I mean, there's got to be something in the afterlife, but I don't think that the ultimate goal of life here is to continue to accumulate physical materials to the point that we fill a house full of useless stuff. I think that we're here to undo, whether it's past life traumas or current life karma issues. We need to work through these sort of spiritual issues and come to a complacency with the situation that you've been handed.
Okay, so both religions objectively are trying to make a better person. So,
Yeah.
how do you see your future here or somewhere else?
So I guess my future, I'm hoping, is going to be split between here and Canada. You know, I still do have family back home, so I will be going and visiting them, you know, periodically. And if I do have children, I think I would like them to have a split education, you know, half of the education in the early years sort of in Thailand, and then you know, I think the high school education in Canada is a little bit better than the high school education they get here, unless you get into like the larger city schools. But again, I would, you know, rather just go to any everyday school in Canada and it be fairly on par with, you know, the education that they get in the larger cities here. So future-wise, yeah, it would be likely, you know, 13, 14 years here, and then hopefully another like 10 years in Canada.
How do you see the future of your home country? Are you optimistic or worried?
I am worried personally. I do not find that the current prime minister is really the best person to be in power.
Who is he?
Mark Carney. So he's an international banker. That is basically what his repertoire is. So I don't really find that he's got the best skill set, really. He's very much so alongside the green movement, which I have no issues with the green movement. But there's also the understanding that you still need an economy to run, right? You can't just kill every aspect of what makes Canada's economy the economy of Canada and then be like, but it has to be green now. It's like, well, you know, we run on oil and steel and mining, all things that are technically carbon, you know, or, you know, producing. So I just don't feel that Canada's moving forward at the right, what's the phrase? I guess with the best foot forward. They're not putting their best foot forward. And then also with the trade wars with Trump, that causes other significant issues, specifically them being our previous largest trade partner, and him, you know, basically saying that Canada now needs to either become the 51st state or, you know, get tariffed into oblivion. So I just don't see very good things coming for North America in general. That includes the States.
I understand you very well because we have a banker as a president too in France, and we are on the verge of falling down. So yeah, I get your point.
They're good at making collapses.
Yeah.
So
after stealing everything.
Exactly.
How do you see the future of Thailand? Do you have any opinion about this?
My opinion of Thailand is that I don't really find them a very politically involved country, especially they're not really, I mean, they're like, in my mind, almost like the Switzerland of Southeast Asia. They're just like, we just want to play both sides almost. We don't really want to get involved in conflicts, but we'll sell stuff to everybody and just sort of be here. So I don't think they're going to be really in a large struggle. They also, are fairly food independent. I know a lot of the food that they eat here is produced here. So that was another big thing that attracted me to Thailand. Coming from my background of the food industry, I do foresee large issues with the food supply in North America, particularly with how heavy we are on the beef side and large agriculture. It's just going to take one bad year of drought and a nice virus that goes through, and there will be a mass famine. Whereas at least here, I don't see that. A lot of see chickens running around everywhere, and I just don't feel that there's as large of a food insecurity in Thailand. So, with their future, to me, I think they're a little bit more secure than the West, which is, maybe counterintuitive. A lot of people view Thailand as like an emerging economy and on borderline third world, whereas to me, it's like, if you start looking at some of the aspects in North America, it's almost third world to me. So, but yeah, I guess in the regards to political affiliations and stuff like that, I find the Thai people are really not involved at all. Like, it doesn't seem like they really care who's in control of the country. So that's sort of a good and a bad thing. It speaks to, I guess, whether the corruption's not that bad that they just don't care that much. So they just sort of let it go. Or it could also speak to the aspect of they're more busy living their lives, and as long as things don't get too bad, they just don't bother getting too involved in the political system.
What about the ecological aspect in Thailand? What's your opinion about that? You think it's going in a good direction, or it's?
I mean, they could do a better job with their trash collection. I know there's been a few times taking the bus and you just see giant piles of garbage on fire. But I guess at least it's not being buried underground to be dug up 300 years from now. But yeah, I think they could do a better job in controlling some of the ecological aspects, right? I know they put a ban on burning the sugarcane, right? So there's that good step forward at least. So they're at least trying.
They are burning a lot of fields in Isan because it's from the local culture, and the countries around too in Southeastern Asia, Laos, Cambodia. So in between two seasons, they are burning the fields before they grow again, another batch. So that's during winter. So the air quality is very poor. Sometimes PM 2.5 is quite high, often over 100.
Yes.
On a scale that is not supposed to go beyond 20 for the recommendation of the World Health Organization. So what is your opinion about this? It comes from a traditional agriculture method of burning, but it can have a big negative impact on the health.
Yeah. I had also read too that they do the burning on the sugarcane fields to get rid of the sharp leaves, so it makes it easier to harvest. I mean, I guess if it's going to impact soil quality, right, this burning increases the soil quality. Maybe a little bit of suffering, I guess, throughout the season is warranted. But if it's just out of pure laziness because it's the easiest way to clear the field, perhaps they could find a better route to clear said field. But yeah, as for now, I guess we're going into that season. So it's coming up in another couple months, right? So I'll get to experience it again firsthand and see how it is. Maybe I'll have a bit more opinion next time.
So to end this interview, I will ask you some more symbolic questions. Then I will give you 3 statements about Thai culture, and you will tell me if, in your opinion, this is correct or not, or if you want to comment them. But first, 2 symbolic questions. If you had to sum up your experience in Thailand in 1 sentence, what would it be?
Summing up my experience in Thailand in one sentence, I guess it would be more okay. So, my experience in Thailand has been revolved around learning to be more patient with myself and the environment that I'm in, and not expect things to always go as planned.
Accept that things that don't go
Yes.
as planned. Okay. And what advice would you give to a young teacher thinking of coming to work here?
So, if you're thinking about coming to teach in Thailand, don't come here expecting the students to always be ready and willing to pay attention to you. I mean, I joke with friends back home that we're just white babysitters, because a lot of times you're typically in the classroom for only 2 to 3 students, right? That are actually there engaging in the class and are interested in learning. And then the rest there are there specifically just for you to watch and make sure that they're, in class and not misbehaving, right? So ultimately, just don't come in here thinking you're going to change everything and be like some super teacher. A lot of times it's just going to, be as it is. And that's why I said just accept things aren't going to go the way you expect them. But know that the students, a lot of times, are really excited to see you, and they're going to come up and they're going to try their limited English with you and be like, how are you? They'll even come up to you in the 7-Elevens or in the grocery stores, right? And they're excited to try a few English words with you. And really that's what you're there for, is to help encouraging them and, just be a friendly face that is there and can understand English fluently. So,
Okay. So now I'm going to tell you cultural statements about Thai culture. Here, the quiet, polite, and non-disturbing social attitude, and your position in the hierarchy. They are superior to the relevance of what you say or what you do, or your creativity or the energy you put in making things work or changing things.
I would say that's true. Yeah, it's very much.
Do you want to comment? Or?
No, I think I've commented a bit, I guess, on that type of
Okay.
concept throughout the interview. So,
There is not really a will to analyze situations, to debate, to point to the good and the bad, and to come up with a plan to improve things or address problems. People will always prefer consensus.
I'm going to say that's false. I mean, I feel like that they do, in some context, plan and they are willing to debate a bit, but typically it's a very polite debate, right? It's not an argument. They're a very respectful people and they respect everybody else's opinion. So it's not, right? It's always about, like, what do they say? It's like saving face, right? Don't get angry. You can debate, but just don't get angry about it.
In the specific cultural system, when you point at a problem, you become the problem.
It's an interesting one. That's probably true. I know they don't like to be called out on things. I know they're willing to debate about stuff, but they also don't like to be called out on certain aspects that have gone wrong, right? So, for example, if you're like, "Oh, well, you're late," and it's like, "Well, no, you're just too early," right? So,
Okay. So it's not harder here to take initiative than in Canada.
it's not harder here to take initiative.
In your work, when you work, it's not harder to take initiative. You are free. You feel free in the system. You think things are stuck because of the culture.
I think yeah, I guess things are more stuck because of the culture, right? They do things a certain way, right? And it doesn't really change too much. So yeah, I would say that. Is it true? Is that what it?
No,
Was
it's
that the
your
statement?
point of view. It's not true or false.
Okay.
It's a
Yeah.
feeling. It's a personal point of view, depending on your own experience.
Okay.
And the answers are always different depending on how long the person has been here and their own situation too.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much for your answers. That was very interesting. And we wish you a nice experience in Thailand.
Much appreciated. Thank you.